Oh, what's up, everyone? So let's get over this TSI day 7 notes. So TSI day 7. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to solve rational functions. Solve rational functions. Right, so this is number 1. I'm going to pause the video so you don't have to see this video well. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Alright, only 9 examples, that's it. Sweet. Alright, so number 1. Solving rational functions. Now, to solve rational functions, there's a shortcut that we can use. And how do you know it's a rational function? It's when we have fractions with letters in the bottom. Okay? This means fractions with letters in the bottom. Sometimes they're on the bottom and top. Okay? That's what that means. Now there's a shortcut to do this. We want a common denominator. If we have a common denominator, then we can cancel all the bottoms. We can cancel the denominator. Cancel the denominators. Okay, I'm gonna say that we don't need the bottom anymore, so just cancel out the bottom. Okay, that's what I say. I say cancel out the bottom. Okay, so let me get into what it means. So let's first find a common denominator here. And that's the hardest part. The hardest part is trying to find a common denominator. First, that is a fraction. That is a fraction. I want them all to be fractions. How do you make this a fraction? Well, I'm going to rewrite it as a fraction. I'm going to rewrite it as 1 over m is equal to 1 over 1 plus 2 over m. Now they're all fractions. Okay, so I make them all fractions. Now, common denominator. Okay, to find a common denominator, well, what can we make all of them be in the bottom? So let's see. I already have an m, and I already have this one to be an m. So if I want a common denominator, I need to turn this one into an m. How do you turn 1 into an m? How does 1 turn to an m? You multiply it by what? Times m. Because m times 1 will give you m, right? Now remember that if you multiply the bottom times m, you have to multiply the top times m. Whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. Right? Now this equation here, we did nothing to it, so just rewrite it. It's just 1 over m is equal to, but here we can fix it. What's 1 times m? That's m. 1 times m, or m times 1, that's m. Plus, did I do anything here? No. So leave it 2 over m. Now if you notice, all my m's are the same. I mean, all my denominators are the same. So I have a common denominator. When all the bottoms are the same, you can cancel them out. Just cross them out. That's gone, and that's gone. That means all you have left is the top. 1 is equal to m plus 2. And now we just solve for the letter m. Now let's retrace what happened here. First, I wanted all of them to be fractions, so that's what I did. I rewrote it and I made the 1 be a fraction. Then I wanted a common denominator, which I wanted all the bottoms to be m, so I fixed the top and everything. And then once all the bottoms were the same, I cancel them out. Once the bottoms are the same, you cancel them out. Cross them out. So 1 equals m plus 2. Okay, I want numbers on one side, letters on the other. Right now my letters are on the right, so I'm going to move the 2. I'm going to subtract the 2. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. And there you go. M equals negative 1. I know it's a little confusing, especially when they get more big boy questions like this. First, common denominator. This is 2m, but this is just m, and this is just m. This has a 2 here. Can you make this be a 2m? Yeah, by multiplying it times what? Times 2. And if you multiply the bottom times 2, you must multiply the top by 2. Everything on the top by 2. Over here. So right here, this is 2m. If I multiply this times 2, it's 2m, so that's good. 2m, 2m. There's little check marks, by the way. Here's an m. How do I make this m become a 2m? Well, times 2. If you multiply the bottom times the 2, the top has to be times the 2. Now let's rewrite it. Did I do anything here? No. Leave it alone. M minus 4 over 2m. There's a plus sign, so put a plus sign. See plus. 2 times m, that's 2m. 2 times a negative 3, that's negative 6. All that over 2 times m, that's 2m. Equal sign. 2 times m, well that's 2m. 2 times 3 is a positive 6. 2 times m here is 2m. Now, common denominator. When my bottoms are the same, what can you do? You can scratch them out. They went away. So which means that we have now only the top. M minus 4 plus 2m minus 6 is equal to 2m plus 6. And we're just going to solve. We're going to combine like terms. Have an m plus 2m. M plus 2m, there's a 1 there. 1 plus 2, so now I have 3m. I have negative 4 and negative 6. Negative 4 minus 6, well that's negative 10. Equals 2m plus 6. Now, letters on one side, numbers on the other. Letters with letters, numbers with numbers, right? So I'm going to move all the letters to the left because that's what I want to do here. So I'm going to subtract 2m, subtract 2m. So now, no more letters here. So all my letters are on the left. So that means I need to move all the numbers to the right. So I'm going to add 10 because I don't want them here. Now I don't have no more numbers here. Now I have all the letters on the left, all the numbers on the right. 3m minus 2m, well that's just going to give me m, or 1m. Equal to 6 plus 10 is 16. And we are done. Number 3. So number 3. This is x squared. This is x squared. How do you make this become x squared? X times what gives you x squared? X times x. If you multiply the bottom times x, you multiply the top times x. Did we do anything to these equations here? On the left, no. So it will stay x minus 1 over x squared. Don't forget the minus sign. Minus x times 1, well that's just 1x. Over x times x, that's x squared, equals, did I do anything to here? No, so it will just stay x minus 2 over x squared. When all the bottoms are the same, you can cross them out. Which means that we have written down x minus 1 minus 1x is equal to x minus 2. Combine your like terms. This is a 1x. 1x minus 1x. Well, 1x minus 1x is 0x, so they cancel, they went away. So I have negative 1 is equal to x minus 2. I want to get the x by itself, so move the, I only have 1x left, so then move the numbers to the same side. So plus 2. Negative 1 plus 2, that'll give me 1 is equal to x. And the hardest thing is try to find the common denominator. So in this question here, I have n, 2n squared, and 2n. Look for the one that's the most complicated, the one that has the most junk all around it. In our case, it would be here. It has a 2, an n, and an n squared. So first, how do you make this n become 2n first? So, well, n times what gives me 2n? 2 does. 2 times n is 2n. But I want 2n squared. So I need to multiply the n by another n. 2n times n gives me 2n squared. If you multiply the bottom times 2n, you multiply the top times 2n. So this is good now. 2n times n will give me 2n squared, the same. Over here I have 2n. I want 2n squared. So what's 2n times what gives me n squared? Well, 2n times n. You multiply the bottom times n, multiply the top times n. Let's fix it. 2n times 1, that's 2n. 2n times n, that's 2n squared. We did nothing to this one, so leave it alone. N times 1, that's n, or 1n. And then n times 2n, that's 2n squared. If the bottoms are the same, you cross them out. Now we have 2n minus 1 is equal to 1n. I'm going to get all the n's on one side, right? So I'm going to subtract this 2n, subtract the 2n. Now I have numbers on the left, letters on the right, as long as they're on different sides, right? This is negative 1 is equal to 1 minus, or 1n minus 2n, that's negative 1n. Divide by the negative 1, that cancels. And we have that n is equal to, a negative over negative is positive, and it gives you a positive 1. Okay, so for these, just remember, they look complicated, but the thing is you want to get a common denominator. And once you get that common denominator, it's not that difficult. Okay, if you have any questions, let me know when class starts, so I know how to go over. I go over a few more of these. And these two are just review questions. This is an ugly, there should be a number 5 in there. Let's screw to 30. Remember that to fix this, we have to divide by those special numbers. 4, 9, 16, 25, and whatnot. And let's see if you can divide it. Can you divide 30 by 4? 30 divided by 4. That gives you what? Nothing, right? Nothing goes into 4 with 30. 6 times 4 is 24. 7 times 4 is 28. 8 times 4 is 32, so that doesn't work. Does 30 go into 9? No. Does 30 go into 16? No. Does 30 go into 25? No. What happens when it doesn't go into any of them? Then it stays your answer. That's the answer. You can't do anything to it. It stays the screw to 30. So number 6. 7 times, this is times, 7 times the square root of 22 minus p equals 28. Remember that when you have the square root, you check, is there anything in the front? Is there anything afterwards? Well, is there anything after here? No, there's nothing after the square root, so then this is done here. You're not going to worry about this side here. There's nothing there. But is there something in the front? Yeah, there's a 7. How do you get rid of the 7? Well, since it's being multiplied, divide everything by 7. So these will cancel. And you're left with the square root of 22 minus p is equal to 4. Now there's nothing in the front, there's nothing after. So now you can get rid of the square root by doing parentheses 2. 22 minus the p. Remember, this 2 cancels all this. Is equal to 4 times 4, which is 16. Subtract the 22, so we get all the numbers on the same side. Negative 1p, because there's a 1 right there, is equal to 16 minus 22. What's that? Negative 6. Divide by the negative 1. Cancels, and you're going to get the p is equal to a positive 6. Number 7. 9a squared minus 5 is equal to 895. Well, to get the a first, we need to get rid of to get the a alone, we want numbers with numbers, letters with letters, right? So let's get some numbers with the numbers. First thing, I want to add 5. (9a squared is equal to 900). Now, remember, we want all the numbers on the same side, so get rid of that 9. Divide by 9. That goes away. A squared is equal to 100. And then how do you get rid of the little 2? You take the square root. That 2 cancels all of this, so it's just a is equal to the square root of 100 is 10 and negative 10. Alright, then the last part here is multi-step exponents. So we're going to be doing a lot of things, like all the properties of exponents pretty much, or they can be all of them, at least 2 or 3 at one time. So first thing, we have parentheses here. Okay, these are parentheses, and there's a 3 on the outside. What does a 3 on the outside mean? Remember that when you have a power to a power, it has to go to all of them. So this negative 4, multiply it times that. This 4 multiply it times that, and this 2 multiply it. Before we do anything, before you do the multiplication inside, you must do the parentheses. So this now becomes u with a negative 12, because negative 4 times 3. This is v with 4 times 3 with a positive 12. Then there's a times sign, negative v, and 2 times 3 is 6. Now we multiply. There's a 1 right here and a 1 right there. Well, 1 times 1 is still going to give us the 1, so we still have a 1. Now the u. Are there any u's over here? No. So leave u with a negative 12 for right now. We'll fix the negative in a little bit. Then v and v. Remember that when you multiply, you add. So this becomes v18. Now, can we have a negative exponent? No. So then you have to make a fraction, and you kick all this to the bottom, remember? So then this equals v18 stays on top, and now the u12 goes to the bottom. And then there would be 1s here, but we don't have to write the 1s. And then we're done. Number 9. Alright, so number 9. Oh, let's see here. So there's a 1 right here and a 1 right there. So this 1 we multiply times the 2, this 1 times the 2, and then this 2 times the 2. Oh, right here, there's a negative 1 with a 1. So then this 1 gets times the 4, the negative 2 times the 4, and the 3 times the 4, okay? So let's fix it over here on the left side first. Negative 2 with a 1 times 2, that's 2. Y with a 1 times 2, that's 2. X has 2 already times 2 more, that's 4. Times negative 1 with a 1 times 4, that's 4. X with a negative 2 times 4, that's negative 8. And then y 3 times 4 gives us 12. First, I'm going to fix these ones. So let's see. Negative 2 squared. That means negative 2 times a negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 2, that gives me a positive 4. Now over here, negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1. This gives me positive 1. If I multiply 1 times negative 1, that's negative 1. And then negative 1 times a negative 1 is a positive 1. So this becomes a positive 1 now. X to the negative 8 and y 12. So I'll keep multiplying here. 4 times 1, well that's 4. Now remember that usually we write the x first. So I have 4 x's and negative 8 x's over here. So add them. 4 plus negative 8, that's negative 4. We'll fix it later. I have 2 y's here and 12 here. So 2 plus 12 gives us y 14. Now remember that we can't have this negative. So make a fraction and kick it to the bottom. So then in the 4 and the y14 stay on top. And then the x to the 4 now goes to the bottom. And it's positive. And there you go. And that's it. Alrighty guys. Thanks. Laters. 0.